Hello everyone and welcome back to Superboy Beyond, and I know last week we said we were going to be doing the next Metallo Spotlight episode, but because we haven't done a commentary on this one yet, we thought this week and next week we'll be doing commentaries on this episode, on this two-parter, and then we're going to go into spotlights for Lex Luthor, and obviously we're going to have to start right back with season 1, so it's going to take us a little while to get back to Threesome. But that's why we're doing the commentary for you now. We just figured it'd be better if there's a bit of a gap between it, just so it doesn't feel like we're delivering the same thing 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
And I do just want to say, in case anybody asks why I'm wearing a tie in this, I lost my great aunt last week. There's not going to be an attendance funeral, so this is just my way of paying tribute this week. So that's why I'm wearing a tie for the first time ever on this channel. So.
I know I can probably speak for all of our viewers. I want to offer my condolences to you and your family for the loss.
Thanks, man.
I know it's not an easy time for you, but we're here when you need us.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's just a really weird situation. I think because back in COVID times, non-attendance funerals just became the norm for a while. I think that they've just kind of stuck around, even though they're not strictly necessary anymore.
Right.
So yeah, there's not going to actually be a funeral that I'll get to go to. So this is why I'm wearing the tie. But I'll probably take it off for part 2 just because it's so bloody hot today. I'm regretting the tie already, and we've not even started. Anyway, if this is one of your first time watching one of our YouTube videos, one of our commentaries, you're not going to see any actual clips from the episode. Actually, technically, I guess you will, but you won't hear any audio. It's just a very, very heavily filtered version of the episode. It will be right up there. And yeah, we'll count you in with a 3, 2, 1 play. And as long as you hit play when we do on your copy, you'll be watching alongside us. So get your DVDs ready. This is on disc 2 of season 4. This is episode 14, Threesome Part 1, in 3, 2, 1, play. And I've not seen this episode for a bloody long time, so this is going to be fun. I don't remember really anything about Vexman.
Yeah, I mean, she's just a character that seems to come out of nowhere, but they established a backstory for her within like the first 10 minutes.
I remember quite liking her, but isn't she like the psychiatrist or something? And
Yeah.
So basically, it was kind of like a proto Harley Quinn type thing, I guess, in a way.
Except unlike Harley Quinn, she's not batshit crazy. She's got revenge on her mind.
True. So I vaguely remember her slapping Metallo at one point. You've got to be pretty crazy to do that.
I wouldn't say crazy. I would say ballsy.
Stupid, maybe. Although, let's face it, she survives, so maybe not that stupid.
Yeah. I love this opening shot, how we pan in listening to Lex talking, and it's just the top of his head as we pan around to his face.
I wish they put the bald cap on him more often, because it does look pretty decent, I've seen a hell of a lot worse.
Yeah, this is one of those bald caps that you can't really tell is a bald cap.
Like this bald cap is actually, I would say, better than the bald cap that Michael Rosenbaum wore in like the Smallville finale.
Yeah.
It probably helps that, Sherman Howard had quite short hair anyway, and every now and then when he raises his eyebrows, you see the creases. It's pretty damn good though.
Yeah. It's interesting though that she's saying that she's doing the psychological evaluation on him to prove that he's sane so that they can execute him.
Yeah. They've tried
As
before. Did it
well
not
as
matter
I
back then?
yeah, and as I've understood, you know, the way an insanity defense works, once they prove that you're now no longer insane, if it can be proven, they a good lawyer would just say, well, that was the crimes were committed when he was insane. He's not insane any longer. He's not responsible.
Yeah. Yeah, you're
So,
right about that. It's,
so
it
this,
doesn't make sense any way you look at it, really.
yeah.
Huh.
And
Yeah, I
for
can't
Eagle
see
Eye,
Lex having. I can't see Lex having a problem with head lice personally.
yeah.
Maybe in his eyebrows. It's the only hair he's got on his head.
For eagle-eyed viewers of the show, this is actually the second, well, technically third appearance of actress Justina Vail on the show. Her last appearance was in the season 3 finale, Road to Hell, where she
Hmm.
played the assistant to the alternate universe version of Dr. Winger.
Yeah, I think we
And
talked about it last week. There's that famous line. She's got a very famous line in the episode. What's the other time that she was in the show? I don't know the other appearance.
well,
You said there was.
she was in both parts of the season
Oh,
finale.
true, true.
So, and I
I
know
thought
that
you meant there was another episode somewhere down the line that I'd missed.
my head canon and your head canon are probably the same on this. That when she was playing Dr. Winger's assistant in the other universe, she was just playing an alternate version of Vexman.
Yeah. Now, I forget what her revenge plot was even about. What did Superboy do to incur her wrath?
Apparently, she was working for some psycho villain as a henchwoman,
Right.
and she switched sides in the middle of the battle to work with Superboy and helped him to stop the psycho villain. But she didn't do it out of the goodness of her heart. She did it because she had the hots for Superboy.
Hmm.
And when he didn't return those advances, she got bitter.
So it's kind of like that. What's her face from that issue of the Tyne comic we read last, when she was obsessed with Superboy and he didn't give her any attention. So suddenly it's like, I'm going to use sound waves to blow up the clock tower, and yeah, very very typical jilted villain plot. I guess it's a bit of a trope. Um, I can't say it's one of my favourite tropes, to be honest. It's a little bit cheesy,
It
but
is it is a bit cheesy, but this in this episode it's done very well.
hmm.
Even though there's a little bit of a problem with it. Even though she looks very young, she's a psychiatrist, which means she's at least 30.
Hmm. Yeah, because she would have had to do a fair bit of training,
Yeah,
but yet she's acting like a jilted
teenager.
teenager almost. Hmm. I do like the voice that Michael Callan always does when he's Metallo without kryptonite. It's always a lot more gruff, a lot huskier in the voice.
Yeah,
I mean, I know he's got a voice like that anyway, but he takes it down an extra bit, a little bit, I think.
yeah. He almost plays Metallo like a drug addict.
Mm.
You know, when he doesn't have the kryptonite, he's doing the whole I need it, man, I need it, man. And then when he gets it, he's got confidence. He's pumped up.
Mm. Now, at the end of this episode's commentary, I'm going to have to go back to the start of this episode and see if they remembered to give him grey hair at the beginning, like they did with People versus Metallo. because I do like that they always darken his hair the moment he gets the kryptonite. But I don't remember spotting it this time, so they may have skipped that this time round.
Well, I think a lot of this has been done, very shadowed. The way David Nutter has shot the scene, it's
Mm,
darker. So I don't know if we'll be able to tell. That's the thing.
true. When we get to the end of the episode, though, I will skip back and just have a quick look, just in case.
Hmm.
Just because I like details like that. Honestly, though, I'm amazed that it took till season 4 just to team up Metallo and Luther. Like, oh,
So it was obviously Vail who hit him on the head.
yeah, you'd assume so.
And then we got Lana here talking about going back to Smallville, that she's fed up with the Bureau.
Hmm.
A lot of season 4, she has this dichotomy where one episode she wants to be there, she wants to do the investigations, and then the next episode she's very much, I hate it here, I want to go home. You know, it's like they couldn't
Hmm.
decide what they were doing with Lana for season 4.
I mean, it could just be a matter of, like, she likes the Bureau well enough, but maybe she just misses small town life. The big city isn't necessarily for everyone. Maybe it's just she's torn. Maybe she
Yeah.
can't quite decide whether she wants to stay or go. But you're right; it's a little bit inconsistent, which is a little bit irritating. It would be a little. It would be slightly nicer if it was a bit more of a progression. Where they actually had a bit of continuity between those moments.
That's one of the few shirt rips that he ever does in the series.
Yeah, there's not very many of them.
I think the one that they did in Who is Superboy is so much better.
I'm trying to remember exactly what that shirt rip was like.
He comes running out the door, actually running, and then in the process of
Right,
running, he rips, and then they pan in on the symbol.
fair enough.
And now she's got really big 80s hair.
That's how you can tell she's evil. It's like all the other villains. It's like with Neela as well. You can tell when she's in full on super villainess mode because her hair just grows about 10 sizes. When she's
That
in
expl-
disguise, it's small again.
that explains all the girls I went to high school with.
Oh.
Remember, I went to high school in the 80s and early 90s, so big hair was the thing.
Did Vexman ever appear in the Time comics?
No, she did not.
That's a bit of a missed opportunity. Like, if she's got this history with Superboy where she knew him a long time ago, it might have been cool if they'd actually depicted that in the comic books, maybe. Like, instead of doing the story with what's her name with the heart murmur, I forget the character's name,
Yeah.
but maybe they could have made that the Vexman introduction episode or something. I
Well,
don't know.
I don't. Well, remember, Stan Berkowitz didn't really join the series until season 3, so this is one of his characters that he came up with.
Mm. But I mean, the Time comics was still going at this point, so
Yeah, but they were kind of. This is around the time when they started to turn into bi-monthly.
right, it wasn't as yeah, okay. Even so, it still might have been nice to get Vexman's origin in a comic. We got Knick-Knack's origin in a comic. Might have been fun. They could have brought the actress in to give some thoughts on where she thinks the origin might have gone.
Yeah.
wouldn't have necessarily had to have her write the entire thing like with Gilbert. Although I think he co-wrote with someone, if I remember right.
Yeah, he did. He did co-write it with somebody.
Hmm. So yeah, maybe they could have done that here as well. I do like that Superboy actually remembers her though, because let's
Yeah,
face it, he must meet so many people doing what he does. He would. It would be perfectly understandable if he didn't remember. I like this shot. I always like when they have a shot through a magnifying glass or something.
it's nice to see Lex actually doing, the
Science stuff.
scientific stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is why Sherman Howard was the perfect Lex Luthor.
Hmm. And he is quite good with the sort of suave and charming side as well. We didn't get to see it very often, but if they wanted to do the sort of post burn era Lex, he totally would have been capable, in my opinion. Like, I mean, we've all heard the story about how close he apparently came to
Oh,
getting the
there
role
it
of Meg.
was.
Oh yeah, there was the slap. Yeah, she's got to be a little bit crazy because honestly, I'm amazed Metallo didn't punch her. To be honest, because other than that old lady, like he doesn't seem too cut up about having to murder people from time to time.
And I love how Lex is the one who's pointing out that the tears are fake.
Hmm. I like that. It shows she's very manipulative of Lex and
Yeah,
Metallo. It's
and
funny. This almost feels like an episode where they were actually trying to give Lana an exit point, if that makes
yeah,
sense. Like almost like this is the episode where they were writing her out of the show, but then maybe changed their minds. It feels like that. It feels like it's Stacey Hyduck's last episode.
yeah,
Obviously, it's not, but it's weird.
yeah. There isn't one little connotation about Odessa Vexman, the character that Justina Vail plays.
Hmm.
There's more to her first name of Odessa than meets the eye.
Okay.
Odessa is the name of the Nazi plan to escape from
Huh.
Europe after the war.
Huh.
So there's the evil connotation of that in there. Plus the fact that it's also a Russian first name.
Yeah, and back in the 80s, I guess, Cold War is still. When did the Cold War end? Was that in the 90s?
I think just after this show ended, it officially came to an end.
Yeah, because we've had other Cold War themed episodes in this. Obviously, the Russian exchange student is the big one, but
Yeah,
that was very much about, what's the word? Paranoia over Russian agents infiltrating American science or something. I don't know. It was a weird episode, but yeah,
yeah,
it was definitely a Cold War inspired thing. Let's face it, the Russians were still the bad guys even in the Bond films that came after the Cold War. So it clearly took a while for that connotation to disappear. It's interesting though.
and I like this sequence that we're coming into now that she's arriving back in Smallville. You know the old saying, you can't go home again.
Mm.
This kind of harkens back to that phrase with what she sees when she gets into the town. Everything looks so nice. It looks the way it always has, always will be.
I wonder where they actually shot the Smallville street set, like the street scenes for Smallville, because it always looks pretty small town, but obviously it is just somewhere in Florida. But some of these buildings are pretty cool, sort of Art Deco inspired looking shapes to them.
Yeah.
I quite like it. It's the sort of place I wouldn't mind having a look on Google Street View and seeing if those buildings are still there. I know some people that watch our channel say they actually grew up in Florida while the show was being made. If you happen to know for some reason where the Smallville scenes were shot, let us know because yeah, maybe it could be kind of fun just to go on Google Street View and see how it's changed.
Well, it has been 30 some years now, so it's
Oh, it's
probably
probably
changed a lot.
changed a great deal, but
Well,
I do find it funny though that Lana's so surprised by the changes, like she hasn't been home in a while, but she has to have done, surely.
well, she has been home recently, but from what the police officer said to her, this only just happened.
Right. Does she not have family still in Smallville? I know her dad is probably flying around doing archaeology stuff, but her mother dead at the start of
No,
the?
no, her mother still lived in town.
Do you think she would have mentioned it? I do like Vexman's coat that she's got on in this scene with all the different colours and stuff. It reminds me vaguely of what's his name from Rebirth, Llewellyn. He had
Right.
sort of a similar sort of multicoloured coat. It was obviously not the same coat, but it was a very similar sort of design choice. Although clearly his was meant more to have the colours of, I think it was the Jamaican flag, if I remember right.
Think so, yeah. I don't think that Michael Callan sold that scene quite right.
No, I think he was trying to play up the comedy a little bit more, but it didn't quite work. Especially when he had his eyes shut and he wasn't even anywhere near the smoke anymore. It's just like maybe they needed to have a few more smoke machines going or something just to make it clear why he's got his eyes shut. It was just a little bit weird. Unless there was a second reason for his eyes being shut that I missed.
Yeah. I like the fact that, of Lex's theory here that, about the super hearing, that maybe he can't shut it off.
Mm. Yeah, we've definitely talked about this before, where it really is just a really great idea. I mean, he's got that going on plus the kryptonite. I mean, yeah, he's pretty screwed. So that was part one of Threesome. Thoroughly enjoyable episode.
Yes.
Like I say, I think most of the stuff I wanted to talk about with this one was just, I think it would have been nice if we had seen that origin. We've had plenty of Lex and Metallo before now. It might have been nice to have the Vexman introduction episode actually be an episode at some point, especially considering how many clip shows there are in season 4. Could you not have cut one of the clip shows and did a low budget Vexman origin story? It doesn't have to be the most action packed.
Yeah.
Just something. You could have even made the Vexman origin story a clip show. It could have been her interviewing villains, learning about Superboy's past, and then you find out, stuff happens. You could have set it up that way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think
Honestly,
that's the only downside for this episode is
I
there's not.
I kind of feel like they wanted to work with Justina Vail again,
Mm.
um,
I
considering that
think they
she
must
did
have
such.
liked her
Yeah,
because
they must have liked her because she did such a great job in Road to Hell parts 1 and 2. But and as much as I like the way she plays the character, this episode this two-parter would have worked better if it was Neela.
I agree. Yeah, and it's funny because almost like a Mandela effect type thing. for a couple of years, I had like just a false memory of this episode where I thought it was Neela in this one because I just completely forgotten most of the Vexman stuff.
Yeah,
And yeah, I think you're right. It would have been more interesting if it was Neela. I mean, let's face it, there's been other female villains in this show. You know, you could have had, I don't know, Tiger Eye return or something like that. I mean, she's not my favorite character, but at
Yellow
least
Perry.
she's one that Yellow Perry. Yellow Perry would have been great for it. You know, they're not my favorite episodes or characters, but they're set up in the past of the show. So when they return, it's kind of a big deal. It, I don't know. I think it would have elevated the episode slightly more. But really, all it needed was just a better introduction for Vexman. That's all it was. If they just had that one detail changed, I think this episode would go from maybe a 7 in my eyes to maybe a 7.5 to an 8.
Yeah,
Um,
there's even one character that you've been kind of pushing to bring back in season 5,
mm.
a female character who would have been even better for this.
Who? I'm forgetting who I've been pushing for now.
Sarah from season 1.
Sarah Dana, yeah. That could have been interesting.
And now it's not a situation where she's going back, she's getting even with him because he didn't love her. It's she's getting even with him because of what happened with her father.
Mm.
You
That
know?
would have been that definitely would have been more interesting. I mean, there's a ton of different characters that you could do that with. I mean, you could it could even have been what's her name, the woman with the scarred face from Superstar. You know, just there's a ton. If you need for the third villain to be a woman, there are a ton of great women villains in this show that they could have
Yeah,
pulled from. And some of them, like the one in Superstar, you know, they weren't that great in their first episode. So this might have even been an opportunity to correct some mistakes and actually improve the character a little bit and
yeah,
retroactively make that earlier episode slightly better. Um, yeah, I don't know. I know I'm nitpicking. I'm just that's how I feel about this one in particular. I
yeah.
like
And
Vexman, but
Justina
yeah,
Vail, if you're watching us, please don't mistake what we're saying as we didn't like you in the episode.
no, it's
You
purely
were
a
great.
decision thing.
It's just we think that the episode would have been better if it was a more established foe from previous.
Mm, absolutely. You know,
Heck, there's even a way
and
that
let's
they could
face
have
it.
made it. They could have made it, Neela, and it worked. Think about it. She's got shape shifting powers. She was always in the business suit when she's human.
True, she could have shapeshifted to just replace the actress if they couldn't get the original one back. But
Yeah,
I mean, let's face it. You could. I think if she does happen to see this, which I mean, I doubt it, but you know, if she does happen to see this, hopefully, at least the fact that the first thing we both jumped to was maybe we just wish that there was an introduction solo episode for the character a little earlier on. Like
yeah,
that's not saying that we want less of that actress. It's saying that we want more. And that's probably the number one greatest complaint that a performer can probably hear. You know, I don't see enough of you.
yeah,
So yeah, I would only give this episode a 7.25 at the absolute most. I think
yeah,
part two is going to be better because I vaguely remember part two being the good one of the two.
yeah,
Um, but there was some great stuff in this one as well. Like you know, you talked about during the prison scenes how dark and moody the lighting is. It's really quite stylish at times, and yeah, all those scenes I really really love. Um, so yeah, it's weird. I guess you'll have to tune in next week to see if part two is the better part because I really don't know. It's been too long.
right. Yeah,
uh,
definitely. We're gonna watch part 2, and then we'll uh, we'll move
we'll
forward.
circle back. Yeah, we'll circle back to this after we've done a few Lex Luthor spotlights. Um, those spotlights are going to be weird, though. I mean, we've got to talk about Scott Wells for the first 4 episodes of Lex Luthor's time on the show. Um, although we'll probably do it in 2 episode chunks, you know, split it into 2 episodes. or something.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out as we go. The whole point is that we just didn't want there to be no break between commentary and spotlight, because then it's just 3 weeks of the same episode that we've been discussing. I don't.
Right.
I think people will get a little bit bored by the end, you know. But yeah, we'll see you all next week. Oh, what did you want to score this episode out of
I'm
10?
gonna go no more than a 7.25.
Okay, 7.25 sounds about fair. Yeah, we'll see you next week. Take care. Bye bye.